Welcome everybody, really nice to see you. Welcome if you're watching on YouTube, and welcome to everyone who's going to be joining the Instagram live. So before I invite today's guest, I just want to talk about the name of today's episode, which is what is the goal. So I was thinking to myself, what is a goal? Like, what is a goal, and what's the difference between a dream and a goal? Because I was going to name this like chasing the dream, or what is the dream? But then I thought, but what is a dream and what is a goal? So I looked at the definition of a dream, or the word dream. And the word dream, the definition is a cherished aspiration, ambition, or ideal. So it talks about a dream being a cherished ideal, but not necessarily something that's intentionally sought after. And then I looked at synonyms of a dream, and I looked in the thesaurus, and it says idea, image, imagination, thought. All these words connote to a dream. There's no intentionality about a dream. However, I looked at the word goal. Now, the definition of the word goal is the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. And then I looked at some synonyms, and it says ambition, intention, objective, and target. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this was I wanted to let everyone know that for me, I can't speak for the entire population of the world. I cannot speak for other people. I can only speak for myself. And for me, Black Lives Matter, seeing equality is not a dream. It's not just a thought. It's not just an ideal. It's more than that. It's a goal. And it's a goal that I believe we need to be intentional about achieving. It can't just be something that we imagine. It can't just be something that we want to see happen and then we make no strides to do it, because then all it stays is a dream. But I want equality in our world, and not just for Black people, but equality wherever there is inequality. Wherever there is such a massive gap in poverty, where women aren't getting the rights that they deserve, like wherever there is inequality, the goal is equality. Equality is not a dream. It's not an ideal. It's not a thought. It's not something that we're imagining, but it's something that we need to be intentional about achieving, because goals are about intention. So that's why I called it What is the Goal? Because I really felt like we've talked a lot on this show. We've talked about believing that Black is beautiful. We've talked about let's move. We talked about like the actual phrase itself, Black Lives Matter. And I feel like we've done a lot of talking, and that's fantastic. We've done a lot of talking, but now I want to start this like little mini series within the whole I Can't Breathe thing. We're going to be starting this mini series called What is the Goal? And so over the next coming weeks, we're going to have guests on, and we're going to be talking about what is the goal? Is this goal achievable? And how do we achieve this goal? So that's basically what we're going to be talking about today. So hello everyone, and welcome to I Can't Breathe, the show where air is free, see the change, be the change. And today we have a very, very special guest, a guest that was on the very first show that we did a few months ago, and she's back. Ready and raring to pass on her knowledge and her experience, and I can't wait to hear her speak. So without further ado, Hannah, let's have you on. And guys, remember, any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Remember, this is a conversation that we're having with you guys as well. It's not just a conversation between me and Hannah. It's a conversation with you guys. Hi, Hannah.
Hey. Hey, everyone. Hi, Jordan.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to speak to you, because when I was writing up some of these questions, I was thinking, okay, cool. Like this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Hannah and I'm 20. I am an ex-student of YNT. I'm currently at East 15 Acting School studying acting and community theatre. So yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And for those who do not know, Hannah and I actually met at YNT. We met at YNT Barking, didn't we?
Yeah, we were in performance group, Young Alternative Performance Group
Yes.
first, yeah.
And we went on to do the Jack Petchy Glee Club
Yeah.
challenge. Yeah. That was a lot. That seems like a lifetime ago though.
Yeah, it was years ago. Oh my goodness.
Gosh, yeah. And here we are now.
Honestly,
20 years old. Oh,
literally, it's crazy.
We're getting so old. Okay, so before I talk to you about sort of things in general, I want to know a bit more about you. So, are you a person in general who likes to set goals?
Yeah, I say I set goals, bearing in mind that I'm not in control of everything, and to also leave room for things that I might not expect on the way. So I have to be very realistic in terms of goals and be like, okay, well, I can say in the next year I want to achieve this, but bigger things might come. Or, you know, look at us, we're in a pandemic, no one saw that coming. So stuff like that, where I try not to, it's not just to like avoid disappointment, but to also allow myself to maybe prosper in like places I never thought I would.
Yeah. So why do you set goals?
Just so I know that I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If I can't make a goal about something, then do I really know what I want to do? Is one of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also it makes you feel good sometimes if you know you're good at something and you want to accomplish more. Why not say, yeah, I'm gonna go for the bigger thing in the next 2 weeks? Like that's is a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with that. So what are some goals that you actually have?
Goals for myself, I think the big one is to diversify children's theatre in general. I don't think it's diverse enough, you know.
Wow, that's big. How did that become a goal of yours?
Just thinking about theatre in general and the type of theatre I want to do, and I think theatre in general, the performing arts industry in general is very white. I think we all know that. And then when we go down into, you know, different channels of the industry, whether it's, you know, just singing or acting, it's still very white. Then in children's theatre, even though it's not always educational, sometimes it is just, you know, for the fun of it, it's still very white. But are we telling these children who aren't white, who aren't straight, who aren't men, that, you know, this is the epitome of a human being? No, not really. And then if it is educational, in this country, they kind of say, yeah, you know, education puts everyone on an equal playing field. But of course, we know that's not true, because there are private and state-funded schools that are at totally different levels. So people that go to private schools, a 5-year-old that goes to like a private school is going to be exposed to way more theatre than a 5-year-old that goes to, you know, a state-funded school. Yeah. And if it's about them learning something, I think that those 2 5-year-olds should have the same exact experience and cultural involvement.
That is so, like, you know what like I love, yeah, because like my next question was gonna be like, what do you hope to achieve with it, but you basically just answered it. But it's really cool to see that you, number one, you know what you're talking about. So like I can see that you've been intentional with researching stuff and knowing what to actually talk about. But also that you actually care, you know, and it's not necessarily like sort of a goal that someone has put on you, but I can see it's something that you genuinely care about.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. So how do you set goals, or how do you make goals?
Well, it's kind of a like, what do you want and when do you want it type of thing. So like when I graduate, well, I'm going into my third year now, so on my mind I'm like, okay, yes, I do want an agent. So what do I need to do? I need to go to meetings. I need to find them, email them, blah 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 blah. When do I want an agent by? Let's say the end of by the time I graduate, so July 2021. That's my goal, and I know the steps to get there. So it's stuff like that I have to kind of think it through. It's not necessarily like a process, but it's understanding what you want and what you need to do.
Okay, yeah. So and this wasn't explicitly written down, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So in terms of goals, because I feel like goals, there are like two different kinds of goals, and it's like the goals that have like a set date. So it's like, I want to achieve this by this time. I want to do this by this time. But then there are sort of bigger picture goals. That is like the goal that you said, which is like, I want to diversify children's theatre, or like I want to bring change to the film industry. Like for me, like those are kind of bigger goals. So do you think it's important to have both in mind, or do you think one is more important to focus on than the other? Like what you think?
I think it's important to have both, because it's important to always see like the best in you, and think like, yeah, I can do that really good thing, but then to also be like, well, that is very ambitious, so let me also have smaller things on the side. You know, I think that they're both just as important. So like, it's not really a small thing, but I still want to do like, you know, acting. I want to do theatre, film, TV, whatever. And maybe that's my smaller goal, because the whole other thing I want to do is with young people's theatre and stuff like that. So they're not two separate. I don't think they're two separate things. I think one might be more likely than the other, but they're just as important if it's, you know, for the bettering of yourself and other people.
Yeah. So how practically do you like note down your goals? Like, do you note them down? Like, do you write them down? Do you just remember them? Like, how do you make note goals?
I don't necessarily write them down. I don't think I do. With career wise, I have got like a list of things, just because I know that if I want to go into like a meeting with an agent, I need to have like a plan for myself, or they're gonna ask me about myself. So I have stuff like that. And but in general, I just kind of have in my mind like, yeah, I want to do this thing by that time.
Yeah.
I don't have like I don't know. I know people have like lists of things they want to achieve in like the next 5 years, but I've never really been that type of person. Not that I see anything wrong with it, just that I have a mental thought already of what that is. So unless I need to present it, then I don't necessarily have like a list.
Yeah, that is absolutely fair enough. So so now this is a very interesting question, and this is gonna like lead us quite nicely into like the meat of our conversation, and it's, what happens when you achieve your goal?
I think for like everyone, and maybe even myself, when you achieve something, you're like, okay, this is great. You take that in, you're like, yeah, this is so good. And then some people are very content with that. They're like, yeah, that's it. And then some people are like, no, I want to do more. And I think that feeling of satisfaction is such a good drive for people to then go on and do more, because sometimes it's that little thing that you achieve that you're like, wow, I can actually do this. And then people go on to do like incredible things.
Yeah. So with that being said, And thank you for answering so eloquently about yourself. And now we move on to the meat of our conversation, which is what is the goal of so when people use the hashtag Black Lives Matter and they are moving towards this goal of change, but what is the goal of Black Lives Matter? What is the goal?
Oh, I think the overall goal, if we're thinking of it like globally, is to like I'd say break down a structure that has basically made Black people second-class citizens, whether it's in the West or, you know, even in Africa itself, a continent like full of Black people. We kind of like, especially in this country, the portrayal of African people that are Black is kind of like, yeah, they're second class, or they're from these third world countries, whatever that even means. And to basically break that system, that's it, because that system is, number one, white supremacy. It's also capitalism. There's a whole bunch of other things. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, like if we look at another social justice fight, like feminism, a lot of like they say like feminism started like the late 1800s and it's 2020, and the same things that women back then were saying they don't want anymore, women in 2020 are still like, we don't want anymore. So it doesn't happen overnight, no, but it's something that, first of all, people need to be aware of, that this thing exists, and then we can start moving forward. We need to find active ways, not just, you know, having conversations, even though they can be fruitful. I think, especially now, we need to start looking at action.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. So now, this is sort of like a big question, and this is mainly based on what you think, because of course we have no way of knowing. But before I ask this question, if you're watching and you're new, then welcome. We're with Hannah, and we're talking about goals and how do we make strives to achieve them, especially when it comes to the topic of Black Lives Matter. So if you have any questions for us, then please feel free to drop them in the chat. But if you don't want anyone to know what your question is, and there's a question box, feel free to put it in there, and I won't say what your name is, but I can read out your question. So the question I now have is, do you think this goal, the goal that you've explained, is attainable?
Yeah, I 100% think it is. It definitely is attainable. It's whether or not people are willing to make these changes, because a lot of people are going to have to give up privilege. A lot of people are going to have to, well, first of all, they're going to have to recognize privilege, their own privilege, which is going to make them very uncomfortable. And then once they acknowledge that, they're going to have to do some things that makes them give up their privilege. And they might find that embarrassing or belittling. So it's one of those things where, unfortunately, as Black people, we're not the ones who benefit from this structure, this system. So as much as we want to fight it, as much as we fight against it, we also need people who benefit from that system to fight with us, because they're the ones who are going to have to break it, since they're the ones involved, if that makes sense. So it definitely can, it's something we can definitely reach, but it's going to take a lot of pushing.
Yeah, I hear that. So now, what can be done now practically in the short term to make steps to achieve this goal?
I guess in the spaces we go into, when if we hear things, you know, maybe on like a prejudice level, you know, just be like, okay, no, that's racist, or why do you perceive this person as that? You know, where does that thought come from? Things like that, picking those little things because those are like stems of racism in individual people, and also questioning systems like and authorities. Like I feel like as people, we're obsessed with like hierarchy, and we're like, okay, yeah, but that person is a police officer or they're a teacher and stuff, but they're just another human like me and you.
Yeah.
And you can question them. Like I'm so for like questioning why people are doing things and why they're acting the way they do. It's never just enough because they're this and that. Like that's not an answer for me. You know, if the head of your uni is like, well, we're not celebrating Black History Month because we don't have enough money or something, you have the right to question them about that, because you're paying for that service.
Yeah.
And they should have enough money and things like that. So start questioning these authorities, and let's not treat them as if they're that. I mean, everyone is special, but they're no better than you and I. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, that totally answers it. So and leading on from that, what would you like to see in the foreseeable future, or in the long term, that's going to help make steps towards this goal?
I want to see. Oh, that is a very, very, very good question. I would like to see. I want to see people being more considerate. I really want to see that. I think. Okay, so in like May and June, everyone was talking about Black Lives Matter, especially even in the UK.
Yeah.
Here in the UK, it's something that affects us too. We were protesting, we were marching, we were doing things great. It's now July, and the BBC have said the N-words on daytime TV on the news. Black people are still being mistaken for different people in news articles. It was meant to be about Wiley, and they put a picture of Kano and stuff like that. So do Black lives really matter to you if you're doing these things? So as much as they're just to other people, they're small things, but they're not, because you're saying, okay, whatever, we're just going to do this and put it out there. But you wouldn't put a picture of Donald Trump when you're talking about Boris Johnson. You know, when they were talking about, if they're talking about like anti-Semitism, they never refer to the comments that people made. So why did he have to say the N-word on daytime television? So stuff like that. So do we really, really matter to you? The small things have to change, because it's within the small things that make us feel that we are lesser than these people. Yeah.
That like that point you said is 100% like facts, because the amount of times I've seen articles about Stormzy, but they'll put a picture of the Belgium football player Lukaku, or there's even there was bare like company posts on Twitter when Nelson Mandela passed away, and half the photos was of Morgan Freeman. Like, it's mad. Like,
it's
this
crazy.
Guy's passed
Exactly.
away.
It's crazy.
This guy's passed away, and you're putting pictures of not even him. That's
exactly. That is those small things that it makes you think, like, so do we really matter to you guys though?
Yeah.
It's 100% in those small things.
Yeah. Would you think because one of the things that I definitely said that I definitely want to see in the foreseeable future when it comes to this is that I don't want to see a fluctuation anymore. Because levels of people caring like spikes when something happens, and then drops so quickly.
It needs to stay up there,
exactly, and like
it needs to
no
stay
one
up there.
cares until someone else is either killed or something happens, and then it goes back up, then it goes back down, and like I'm not even just talking about people on social media, but also these big companies, because you have like the BBC who will make a tweet about it, who will mention it on the news, but then, as you said, but they will then, like, a month later do something that completely contradicts what you tweeted.
Exactly.
Or completely contradicts what you said. So one thing that I would definitely say is for the level of care or the level of intentionality to actually make change, to not fluctuate. But,
yeah, like, it's not a trend. Like, this is the life we have to live for years, for decades, for centuries. This has been the conversation that people have been having, and unfortunately, it's only when someone dies that it's like, oh my gosh, we need to do something. But when there's a black girl crying in a classroom because she feels left out, it's like, oh, okay. But it's all the same system. That's the thing. It's not just someone dying. It's
exactly.
It's the whole picture. So yeah.
Yeah, the best kind of way that I can like describe it is, I feel like a lot of times in people's head, racism is like a boiler, because like it's like when a boiler is on the blink, right, and when a boiler it explodes, it takes a second for the carbon monoxide to kill everybody in the house.
Yeah.
Right. But even if you know that it's broken, you're kind of like, oh, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You don't see,
until like the worst thing happens.
Like visible, like exactly, like because the boiler's there and you know that it's been playing up.
But it doesn't bother you. You're like, okay, it's not bothering me right now. Let's just leave it.
Exactly. Yeah. But then like when it explodes, that's when it's like, oh yeah, let's get it fixed, and like if it doesn't kill you, but then like when it's on the blink again, then you're like, oh yeah, like it's calm, like it's fine. So yeah, that's the best way that I can sort of describe how racism a lot of the time is treated.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, because it's like, you know it's a problem, you know it's there, but because it's not, because you don't think that it's a problem that's going to affect you right now, then you just don't deal with it.
Exactly.
Which is what I think that we need to stop doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fix your boilers, by the way, if you're watching.
Everyone fix your boilers in your house.
Yeah. Fix your boilers.
And at your workplace, everywhere, get your boilers checked.
Yeah, like for real. So, again, this is kind of a big sort of question. What does this goal mean for future generations?
For future generations, they should never see their race as a setback in anything they do. But they should also be aware that once it was. So this is a history that needs to be taught. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So with that, could you just elaborate like a bit more on that? So how do you want future generations, for example, to feel in school?
In school, like so there's so many examples I can give. Like, when they open up a history textbook, they should never feel detached from this history. Because when I was in primary school, and also throughout secondary school as well, like, but I remember specifically in primary school when we'd be learning about like World War II, and they'll be like, oh yeah, your grandfathers and your great grandfathers went off to war, and I was like, not where I'm from. Like, like, actually, my dad's dad in Nigeria actually fought for Britain during World War II, but I didn't find out about that until I was a teenager. But as far as I'm aware, I was aware, like, Nigeria had nothing to do with World War II, so it wasn't really my family weren't, you know, evacuated. No one went off to any war that I had known at the time. So I was like, oh, this isn't my history then, but I'm just gonna, you know, feel like it is because all my friends fit into this, you know. And then when we study like the Cold War and stuff like that, it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. But then when it gets to whether it's Africa or the Caribbean or whatever happened during the slave trade, it's like, and this was the beginning of their history. But it's like, no, before all of that, there was a history that was just interrupted by colonialism and slavery.
Yeah.
So there's so many amazing stories that I've kind of been reading about and teaching myself about, and it's just like, wow, like if I learned this in school, like my mind would have been blown. Like not just mine, but people who aren't even Black would be like, wow, I can't believe that's actually true. So yeah, like to feel like they are part of whatever community they're in, especially in school.
Yeah, it is so true, because like I think back and I think like the only bit of African history I remember properly learning about is the ancient Egyptians, or the only history about the Caribbean, which no one likes to talk about why the Caribbean actually exists.
Yeah.
But like the only thing that I remember is like, I think it was, I can't remember if it was before or after World War II, but it was the war between JFK and Castro, who was like the leader of Cuba. And that is like literally the most of the Caribbean that you'd hear about in a history lesson.
Exactly.
I will tell you that when we'd because I think I had a conversation about this before, but when we'd learn about like World War I or World War II, especially in primary school, we watched films like Goodnight, Mr. Tom. We watched films like Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah, I was about to say that as well.
Yeah, these are like,
and it's stuff that like makes you, I mean, they're not really based on true stuff, but it gives you a sense of what things were like at the time. Then when you watch things about like slavery, it gives a sense of a false reality. There's always some white savior, but if we're being realistic, no one was thinking like that back then.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been reading, I finished reading Natives by Akala, and in the book he talks about like African royalty literally getting on boats to America to go and find their children and saying like, I'm on a quest to find my child who has been enslaved by these white people. Like I would love to watch a film about that. Like imagine that journey of like watching your child being taken and then you saying, right, you know, I'm going to find my child, but we just kind of hear that Africans sold their people. Why would people sell their children? Why would people sell their mothers and their fathers? So there's something we're not being told, and those things that we're not being told are amazing stories that I think are just wonderful.
I completely agree, and so sort of linking to that, I guess my only other sort of leg or branch to the question, how does this goal, or what does this goal mean for future generations? What do you think this goal means for future generations in everyday life, like in sort of just their role in society, maybe in employment, or just in general? What does this goal mean for them?
Again, something to do with like equal opportunity. So like a lot of young Black men, especially in London, are searched at I'm not sure what the exact percentage or statistic is, but are stopped and searched by the police at a ridiculous rate compared to their white counterparts. And that fear alone, even if you're like completely innocent, and even if you're not innocent, you shouldn't have to fear these authorities because they're said to protect us, but we know that's not true anyway. So and situations like that can be very traumatizing. So just to be freed from that type of situation, to go into a job interview, and if you're a black person with, let's say, dreadlocks, because I try and say that dreadlocks are unprofessional. You have dreadlocks, and not be discriminated because of your hair, because that hairstyle is a part of your heritage, is part of your culture. And for them to say, well, you look unprofessional, is kind of like, well, my identity isn't professional. So things like that, they seem small, but they reflect, again, a large thing going on.
Yeah. It's like I was looking at some statistics of it's like how unlikely, and this is so, like, it's so stupid, like, I don't know why this is the case, but how unlikely it is for you to get a job or be invited to an interview if you have a black sounding name. Which is just stupid. I mean, like as we said, like, because of like a lot of the problems with colonization and slavery and stuff like that, a lot of black people don't have like African sounding names because they've been sort of, or
they were bought, they were property, so they have names of who they were once owned by.
Exactly. So
and that's just itself is ridiculous if you think about it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like names like Campbell or Taylor or like Brown or like names like this do not best or do not like obviously reflect our culture. But then I know, like, so many times someone with the like and I've heard this so many times, someone with the surname Smith goes to a Robinson, well.
Robinson.
Look at Joseph,
exactly, Joseph.
Facts. And it's like someone with a surname Smith can go to a job interview, and it happens all the time, and they will be taken back or almost shocked that you're black.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
so
I mean, well, first of all, does that mean that I am now incompetent and I'm not gonna do the like is that gonna be a factor in whether you hire me or not, the fact that I'm black? And is that gonna offend you whether I'm black or not? If it's none of those things, then you shouldn't be surprised.
Exactly.
Like, it's just
it's crazy. It defies logic. It honestly defies logic. And it's like, like they say they when it comes to jobs, they're just looking for the best person, but you're clearly not, because they're still asking for people's sexual orientation. You're still asking for people's gender and race. Like, why do you need to know that information if you just want someone who's qualified?
It's true.
It's
true. It just doesn't make sense. But so we have a few more questions left. You've been absolutely brilliant so far. Thank you so much. Everyone who's watching, thank you for joining. We're talking about goals and what steps we must take. We must take. It's an imperative. Goals that steps that we must take to achieve this goal. It's not a dream. It's not an ideal, but it's a goal that must be achieved. So the next question is, what is stopping us? Oh, now this is a good question. I love this question. What is stopping us right now from achieving this goal?
There's a lot of people still in denial. A lot of people are butthurt that we're calling out racism. A lot of people, because a lot of people think that this is some sort of fallacy. This is some sort of like a fake experience that black people, are just like are just creating in our minds. Like, someone from the Metropolitan Police had the nerve to come on national television and say that there's no institutional racism in the police system. Like, that itself is just, in my mind, it's just like, to me, well, it's it's easy for you as a white woman to say that on television, but in front of a black person, you're telling them to their face that your experience is invalid. It's kind of like, how can you tell me that if you've never been in my shoes? You know, like, it's one thing to say, okay, I know I can't experience this, but let me educate myself, and then to completely just like shut down and deny is the biggest thing that is blocking us, you know. Another example, the Black Lives Matter protests that happened around May and June were people protesting about our government. So why did the police come? If the police are meant to protect the people, surely the police should be on the people's side. But then that just reminds us that the police aren't here to protect us. They're here to protect the state. And who runs and owns the state? You know, rich white people. The police don't care about us. They're here to protect assets and things that bring wealth. They don't care about the average Tom, you know. So stuff like that, like, there's a lot of people still choosing to live in the dark, because at this point, ignorance is a choice. There's so much out there that can tell you otherwise, and if you still don't believe it, you're choosing to be ignorant. And
I think one other thing that I would say is what we're being taught as well, even like subliminally, if I said that word right. Because even and I said this in the episode about education, and it's that when I did English at A level, right? Let's say if I'm a younger child and my dream is to be a writer, okay? Now I go into this class and I'm learning about William Shakespeare, I'm learning about William Blake, I'm learning about John Keats, I'm learning about Margaret Atwood, I'm learning about all these writers, all these white writers. And so I have a dream that I want to be a good writer, right? Now, I'm seeing that the trend is that good, famous writers are white. So what am I going to think? What then I'm going to think is that I can't be a successful writer
because you're not white.
Exactly.
Which is representation everywhere. That is so important, and the people that benefit from this don't understand how important it is. Like when you make the point of, when people make the point about like having black tutors or studying black plays or writers, it honestly tells the people that want to later become these things that I can do that because there were people that came before me. If you don't see that, if you don't have anything to see yourself in, if you don't see your reflection in the mirror, you're going to think, well, that's not something I'm capable of. Like, you have to be able to look out there and see things that look like you, things that you can aspire to do. And especially when it comes to the creative industry, we sort of have this sort of, now what I find is we have this sort of warped idea about what beauty is, because a lot of famous, let's say like famous actors, for example, a lot of famous actors and actresses, they have fans, or they are famous, and they'd have like people love on them because like they think that they are beautiful, or they think they are attractive. Sometimes it's not even about talent. And so then what the industry does is they get people who are then going to draw in an audience of people who then find that person attractive to make some sort of fan base.
Exactly. But then that is based on what we've been conditioned to believe is beautiful. Because when you look at like modeling, like posters and stuff like that, like I can walk through the mall in Walthamstow, right? I'll see adverts for skincare products. I'll see an advert for Gucci. I see adverts for Hugo Boss, all advertised by usually famous white people.
Yeah.
Like people like Cara Delevingne, Jennifer, what's her name? The actress from Hunger Games. What's her name?
I don't know.
Yeah. I, but this is what you see, and even if you go through Westfield, like,
you see it all the time. Yeah,
exactly, like H&M and like even when you go into Boots, like,
everyone's just white. Oh, Jennifer Lawrence, thanks, Ori.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
But there's like I think it's in Boots. There's like a massive like poster that says like well-being or something like that, and there's like a white woman on it, like and I'm thinking I'm black, but I get sick too, you know.
Yeah,
like, I need
exactly.
medicine too, you know. Like,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Sense. So yeah, it's also what we're being taught is
beauty.
Yeah, and what we're being conditioned to believe,
100%,
and taking us away from black culture and black beauty. Is definitely something that is.
What about our?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What about our well-being?
And even touching it into that, my friend, this is my friend Tommy. She studies pharmacy, and like seeing online people talking about how when they're studying medicine and things, like, you know, if they give you an example of a skin condition, it's always on white skin, and it will look so different on black skin or darker skin, and that's really dangerous. That is really dangerous if you're teaching the people who are going to look after us to say, well, this is what it looks like on white skin, because white skin is the default, and, you know, we can't be bothered to teach you what it looks like on other patients. And that can be so damaging and dangerous to black health, because when we have these conditions, it's like, but it doesn't look like this in the book, so I don't know if it's that, you know? Yeah. So stuff like that, like it's more dangerous than we realize. Yeah, it is. And when we're so little, or like when we're so young, we're very very impressionable. Like anything that we take in, we take it in like a sponge. It's like we just absorb it like a sponge. And like, exactly, do we want to teach these young children that if you want to be pretty, if you want to feel beautiful, you have to live up to these European beauty standards, you know? Yeah, exactly. Very dangerous. Sets white skin as the standard, and everyone else gets less than standard care. Well, exactly. I mean, why is it's sort of like, why would you? I mean, again, like if a company is about like the well-being of people, why would you prioritize certain people? Exactly. It just does. It's scary. It doesn't make sense. I mean, like, if I'm being real, like Lynx, like a company like Lynx, okay? Yeah. Black people use Lynx, white people use Lynx, Asian people use Lynx, Hispanic people use Lynx. But when you see a Lynx advert, right, with a guy spraying himself, right, and the girl's fainting, is that person black? No. No, it's not. It's always a white guy with like medium-sized pecs who is spraying himself shirtless, right, and then like winking at the camera, or it's always the same thing. So it's what are we teaching through media? What are we teaching in education that's stopping us from believing in black excellence, you know? That black can be excellent, you know? So I definitely think that is a major problem. That's one of the reasons why we're being stopped from this goal. I got 2 more questions. So is it going to be easy, Hannah? No, not at all. It's not going to be easy. Everyone believes different things, you know, and I don't even know yet if there's like one clear thing that I think every single person can agree on. Because some people honestly don't want equality. And they don't realize they don't want that. They want some sort of privilege for themselves, but they're fighting that in the name of equality. You know, like I'm not a fan of capitalism, but I'm aware that we live in a capitalist society. So like when I hear my friends say that they aspire to be like millionaires and billionaires, I'm like, I don't think that's moral. Like why do singular people need that amount of wealth when there are people literally living in an underclass where they don't know if they are going to live tomorrow because they can't eat, and you're happily taking that away from them? I mean, it's not as simple as that. It's very, very complicated, you know, the way wealth works in capitalist society is very, very complex, but that's how I see it. So then when like you hear black people in certain positions say like, yeah, I want to get here, but I don't really care about who comes behind me, who comes after me. It's kind of like, so you want this opportunity for yourself, but not for this entire group of people who are also struggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there are so many spectrums, so many different thoughts that people have, and that's going to make it harder.
Yeah. So, to cap it off, even though this is another big question, but the question is simply, why do you think this goal needs to be achieved? Now, like, I've written down, why not just leave things how they are right now? I mean, our world, you know, functions like people have wealth, people don't, people eat, some people don't, people do their shopping, people have families, people still work. So why does this need to happen?
This needs to happen because many people are still suffering from the worst of it. You know, we might have black people in parliament, in the police force, and doing like amazing things, entertainment everywhere, but there are also black people facing the horrific other side of it because they are black. You know, and we want to balance that out for everyone. We want everyone to feel like they can achieve and do whatever they want because they're given the right opportunities and they're put into this earth equal to everyone. Yeah
100% agree with you, Hannah. You have been absolutely incredible. Like, I really enjoyed our conversation. But before we end, I'm gonna give it about 2 minutes for anyone in the chat right now who wants to ask any questions for myself or mainly Hannah before we go. But while we're waiting for the question, I want to know what's your method in making steps like towards your own goals? So like, if you have like a big goal, like what's your method in being like, all right, cool, like, is it more like okay, I want to do this, okay, then once I've achieved that, I want to do this, once I've achieved that, I want to do this? Or are you a person who sees the goal and then just takes opportunity after opportunity after opportunity as they come? Like what kind of like, what's your method?
I think there's a mixture of both. I kind of have to think, okay, so what do I need to do to get that goal, and then do it, and then once I achieve that, it's like, okay, then I can go on to do this, do that. Okay, from here, where do I go? There. Okay, let me go there. But then that's maybe with like smaller things, but with bigger things, break down the steps and be patient with myself and give myself enough time and really think about the outcome. Like, who is it serving? Is it just serving me? You know, is it going to help other people? Like, hopefully it does, and things like that, and see like where it takes me, basically.
Yeah, fantastic. Someone said Hannah is never quiet about injustice. She speaks her mind and is making conversations happen. Facts.
Thanks, Ori. Facts. I try my hardest.
Yeah,
I do try my hardest.
That is so like amazing. That people know that about you. Like, without you going up to someone and saying, my name is Hannah and I am never quiet about injustice, right? But people can like see that from you. That is so cool, and that means that you are doing the right thing and not being silent and actually trying to make a difference and make these conversations keep happening, keeping
because it starts with a
going.
conversation. I strongly believe it starts with a conversation, because someone can tell you something that you've never ever thought of before, and you're like, now that I know that, I can do this, you know?
It absolutely does start with conversations, but as we go on with this mini series, what is the goal, we realize that it doesn't end with conversations.
Exactly.
It starts with conversations, but it ends with solutions. It ends with action. It ends with being done. But Hannah, you've been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Jordan. It's been great being back, and like, thank you for everyone who's watching. I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you everyone who's watched. Thank you, Hannah, again. Hannah, have an absolutely amazing week. And I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jordan. Take care.
No problem. All right, take care.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. So I've enjoyed our conversation today completely. I loved it because it was so nice to just talk on a real, ask some questions that we don't usually ask, sometimes because we're afraid of what the answer is. So questions like, is it going to be easy? Is this goal really attainable, or do you think this goal is really attainable? What happens when we achieve it? Like, questions like this that aren't really asked often really are interesting questions that need to be asked. So if you're a person who's watching either on Instagram or on YouTube, and you want to do something and you want to get involved, then I'd say set a goal. Set a goal within yourself. Whether that is, my goal is to learn about Black history, or my goal is to talk to my head teacher about Black History Month this year. Maybe changing it up, doing something different. Maybe I want to teach. I want to speak to my English teacher or my English professor about the case studies that we're doing. That they all are white authors or white writers, and that I want to change that. If you want to be a person who wants to make a change, it starts with the small stuff. So I'd say set a goal. Today, write down a goal right now. Pause this video if you're watching this on YouTube. Write down a goal and do what you can to achieve it. Because goals aren't dreams. Goals are things that you intentionally sought after. So this has been I Can't Breathe, the show where air is free. See the change, be the change, and I'll see you next week. All right, take care.